Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? So this is kind of an impromptu video that I hadn't planned on doing until this morning when I was rolling through my notes app and I was looking at my list of the TV shows that I'm watching and all the TV shows that I have watched, and I thought I should do a video because I haven't done like a dedicated video talking about like all the shows I've watched. And so people will tweet to me or send me emails or DM me and say like, have you seen this or have you seen that or whatever. And I'm always like, yeah, I watched it like 3 months ago or whatever. It's cute. I love when people give me recommendations for shows. So I was like, I'm going to go through it because I keep a list in my phone. Here, I'll show you. Of all of my 2023, I don't know if you can see this, but it's all my 2023 watch TV shows, of which there are 74 already. And then I also keep a list of TV shows that I'm watching, and then right underneath it, like next, like other TV shows that I'm going to watch, which I have like kind of stopped adding to that list because stuff keeps on coming up that I want to watch. And I'm like, if I added to that list would be, you know, 200 long at this point. But I have to tell you something kind of funny. My neighbor, his wife, left very early this morning for volunteer. They both do volunteer work at different places on Thursdays. And she left very early this morning. Now, I got up super early because I went to bed last night at like 9:30. So I got up. My plan was to just lay down for like an hour and then get up and watch TV shows. That did not happen. I slept straight through the night. I must have needed a full night's sleep. So it is currently right now 9:54 a.m. Can you even believe it? And so I got up this morning at like 5:30. I was like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was like so wide awake. And my neighbor just left. And so I got up this morning and I watched Big Brother from last night because my friend Nikki yesterday, she texted me. Now, I used to be an avid Big Brother watcher back in the day. And so she texted me yesterday and she was like, are you going to watch Big Brother? Well, I haven't watched, other than the All-Star seasons, consistently Big Brother for like the last, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years or something like that. I used to watch it all the time. I'll tell you the story about that in just a second. But anyway, and then I was watching the last episode of The Secrets of the Miss America pageant or organization or whatever. And so I was sitting out here and she came out and she like sits on her little bench in her garden that she got first. And she just kind of like reads and relaxes before she goes to her volunteer work. And he kept on coming outside and like saying stuff to her. And then he'd like wave over at me and then he'd walk over here and whatever. I feel so bad for him. He is so bored this morning. And so I said something to her and she was like, yeah, they called him off from volunteer work this morning, so he's going to do it this afternoon. And so I was actually just out here talking to him, and he goes, well, they said that they don't need me until this afternoon, but I'm going to go down this morning early, and I'm going to go help him out. I feel like he's so bored. I feel so bad for him. I go, are you bored this morning? He goes, no. He was like, I just wish I had a few more things to do. He's like, I need to maybe pick up some more volunteer work or something. They do so much volunteer work. They're so nice. But anyway, I felt kind of bad for him because I helped him out with his like trash cans this morning and stuff, pulling them out, the trash can, the recycling bin. I helped him pull them out this morning, but he just seemed kind of bored today. So anyway, we were talking it up and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, all right, to do this, let's get into this video to do this video. So let me tell you the shows I'm currently watching, all right? So the shows I'm currently watching are, well, Fear the Walking Dead. I was watching season 5 of Below Deck Mediterranean. I started watching it. I was going to try to go all the way through Mediterranean and then start watching the original Below Deck from like season 1 all the way through, and then the sailing one and whatever. I got to like season 5. My dad and my stepmom, they told me something that happens in season 5 about somebody getting fired, and I was like, I could kind of sense it coming in the show. And also like I love Below Deck, but like each episode kind of started to become very repetitive to me, and I was watching like 4 and 5 episodes a night. So I just kind of like had to take a break from it, and then I ended up just taking it off my list because I hadn't watched it so long. Well, the same thing was going on with the Fear of the Walking Dead. I was like, I got stuck in, I think, season 4. I was trying to catch up before the new season came out, which came out like in like May or something like that. Needless to say, I didn't get caught up because I got bored in season 4, and my friend Tanya was like, just skip it, you don't need it. I go, I'm not going to skip a whole season, Tanya. So anyway, well, recently I went back to go see, to start watching it again. This was just like earlier in the end of last week, I think I started to go back and start watching it again, and it's like not on Hulu anymore. So now you have to pay to watch the episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to find somewhere to stream it. So I have that on my list, though, because I'm going to keep on watching that. Then the Real Housewives of Atlanta, we're completely caught up on that right now. Real Housewives of Orange County, we're completely caught up on that right now. Oh, I don't have on here, I need to put this on here. Real Housewives of New York, we are not caught up on that. We have one episode to watch. One episode or 2 episodes? I think we might have, because my husband was out of town for his brother's bachelor party. I think we might have 2 episodes of Real Housewives of New York. And then, the other day I finished Cruel Summer Season 2. And on Hulu, when you finish a show, like it goes into like a new show. It doesn't recommend something to you. It just goes right into a new show. And it pulled up Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists, which came out in 2019. And it was a spinoff of Pretty Little Liars. I don't know anything about it. Alex was like, oh, is Allison the teacher on that one? I think I know something about it. It was only 1 season and they canceled it. But I did start, I watched like 1.5 seasons of Pretty Little Liars, the original. Alex watched the whole thing and loved it. But Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, I think has 2 seasons out now. It's coming back with a 3rd. It is fantastic. So I was like, well, maybe I'll watch Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionist. So I put that on my list. And then Big Brother I'm starting to watch. The last 5 episodes of Season 2 of Lincoln Lawyer just came out, like, today at 3 a.m., so I'm going to watch that. And Heartstopper Season 2, which are based on the graphic novels by Alice Oseman. Alice Oseman is one of my favorite authors of life. I've, like, read everything by her but one book. Her final Heartstopper graphic novel is coming out in December. I love her so much. So those are the shows that I'm watching right now. Okay, so let's talk about the watch TV shows. I don't know how far back to go in this, because I don't know. I guess I don't need my reading glasses on, but I don't know how. I think first of all, I just want to say, I don't have an eye appointment anytime soon, and I think that I wear 1.5s, but I think that my reading glasses have changed, because even with my reading glasses, I'm starting to kind of strain a little bit now. So I bought some cheapos on Amazon that are 1.75. They come tomorrow. So, because before I invest in a $150 pair of reading glasses, I wanted to see if my reading had changed or not. So anyway, so I finished this morning Secrets of the Miss America Organization, which is on A&E, and it's by the same people, I think, that were the producers of Secrets of Playboy, and then they did this one, was called Secrets of the Miss America Organization, or Miss America Pageant. It was very, very interesting. As somebody that has watched and grown up loving pageants and stuff like that, it was very, very interesting to me. They interviewed 20 Miss Americas. I did not know anything about what they had talked about. They talked about this former CEO that was basically like bullying and being very mean to these girls behind the scenes. That was the first one. And the second episode, it's 4 parts. The second episode was about this former Miss America that took over the organization and made all these changes, and like the changing of like that they're not like they don't have like a bathing suit category anymore and stuff like that, or swimsuit category. And like kind of how she messed up the organization. And the third one is, the third episode I thought was the most fantastic. It's about racism in the Miss America organization, and how there's like this Rule 7 that talks about like comparing like white beauty to black beauty, and how that you can't compare it, and that's why they couldn't have any black contestants in the pageant, and that was like from the 1930s. But that a lot of these Miss Americas that are black really feel like Rule 7 still exists today, and that they were held to a different standard. This whole thing about this one Miss America, and how she like had to get her, you know, hair treated a certain way and all this kind of stuff, and they were not like, they were like, no, you just have to do what you have to do, and that they were completely prepared to take care of a white Miss America but not a black Miss America. And it's like, her story is just devastating. So that was really interesting. And then the fourth one is about mental health of Miss Americas and how difficult their job is and whatever. Like, there's my neighbor leaving, my other neighbor leaving. And if you think it's just like, you know, beauty pageant and whatever like that, like this documentary is fantastic, because like these women that win the Miss America pageant, or I think it's called Miss America Opportunity now, I mean, a lot of them that are involved in it talk about, like this one Miss America, I think she's Miss America like 2010 or something, or 2011. She says something like, if they can't move with the times, then they don't need to exist anymore. What's interesting is, okay, is that there's 20 that are interviewed, and they're mostly from, I would say, like 2000 to now. And they talk about how there are spies in the Miss America organization. And that the spies are like former Miss Americas that report back to the organization. And what's interesting about it is you can kind of figure out who the spies are because of the Miss Americas that are not interviewed for the pageant from the last 20 years. Just saying. Very interesting. Anyway, okay, and then I also finished last night, I finished Cruel Summer, Season 2. It was okay. The show was really slow. Season 1 of Cruel Summer is fantastic. Cruel Summer Season 2 was, I didn't like the storyline. It was slow. You think you have it all, like, the last episode was good. I thought it was, like, the best episode of all of them, but then, like, in the last minute, they, like, share something that, like, changes everything. I don't know. I finished Hijack. I did not know that this was the last week of Hijack. Hijack is on Apple TV. Cruel Summer was on HBO. Cruel Summer was on Hulu. Secrets of Miss America organization or pageant or whatever, opportunity, that's on A&E. Hijack was on Apple TV. I'm loving Apple TV. My favorite streaming services right now, Netflix I'm kind of bored with, except for Lincoln Lawyer. But I love, and I do want to watch that How to Be a Cult Leader on Netflix, but other than that, like, I'm really kind of bored with Netflix right now. Well, Heartstopper, I guess, too. I guess I'm not really that bored with Netflix, but they just came out with all those shows. Before that, I was, like, bored. There was nothing on Netflix. My favorite ones right now are HBO Max, or Max, and Apple TV. Those are my two favorite streaming services. So I watched Hijack, which was with Idris Elba. Oh my god, he was so good looking. And it's about a plane that is hijacked that's going from Dubai to London. And it's 7 episodes, and I wish I had waited to watch the whole thing and binge it. I mean, if you guys are looking for a good show to binge watch this weekend, trust me, Hijack on Apple TV is fantastic. And I believe if you have an iPhone, like an Apple iPhone, you get Apple TV 6 months for free, I believe. Last Call, I don't know, I'm putting on my reading glasses. Last Call was a true crime documentary on Max, and it's about a gay serial killer in New York City in the early 90s, like 91 to 94. We actually read the book for a true crime book club. The documentary was 100 times better than the book. They interviewed a lot of people. They talked about a lot to do with, like, the gay civil rights movement and, like, LGBT violence in New York City and around the world, and court cases involving LGBT people and how difficult it is to defend them and things like that. And I thought it was very interesting. It was highly educational, but at the same time, like, a great true crime documentary. I finished Season 1 of Murder in the Heartland. This is, like, my new true crime show that I watch. I don't typically like shows that have, like, or documentaries that, like, each episode is different, but for some reason I really like this one. It started with an episode that took place in southern Indiana, which is why I watch it, because I live in Indiana. And somebody commented on my video the other day and said, if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would weed your walkway for you. And I'm like, okay, but I live in Indiana. But I thought that was a cute comment anyway. But anyway, Murder in the Heartland is about like a murder that takes place in a small town in, like, middle America all over the United States. They're very good. And the thing I like about it is that in, like, 45 minutes, they present the crime, they interview, like, half the town and all the family members and friends, and then they solve the crime, and they also show you, like, what happens to the person, if they're sentenced or not, and things like that. I finished A Crowded Room on Apple TV. Do you guys hear outside? Lord, summer is in full swing. The Crowded Room. My battery died, but I'm back. Okay, so I finished The Crowded Room, which was based on... Hold on a second. Did I not even write this down that I had watched this? Oh, I didn't watch it. Or I didn't write it down. The 24... Where is that at? Oh my gosh, I have one show on here. I thought I had only... I had watched 74 shows, but I guess I've watched 75 shows. The 24 Faces... Or, well, let me look it up real quick. The 24... The True Story of Billy Milligan. The 24 Faces of Billy Milligan or something like that. He was a guy that had multiple personalities, DID. Monsters Inside, The 24 Faces of Billy Milligan. Why do I not have that on my list? But I don't. So anyway, I finished that. I watched that documentary. That documentary was good. It was very, very sad. But they based The Crowded Room on Apple TV on that. And it is about a guy that, like, is involved in a shooting in New York City. I don't want to tell you too much about it. Amanda Seyfried from Mean Girls is in it. She is fantastic. She plays a psychiatrist in it. Do you hear this woman walking down the street? She's yelling at somebody on her phone. You should have written it all out. I mean, what can I say? I'm sitting on my front porch doing videos, right? Anyway. So, the crowded room, okay, I liked the first 3 episodes, and then it started dragging. The last episode, I literally, like, I was telling my cousin Caroline this because we both watched it, I literally ugly cried. So, I thought when I first started watching it that it was, like, the true story of Billy Milligan. It's not at all. His, like, story takes place in Ohio. This was in New York City. It's based loosely on the 24 Faces or whatever, Billy Milligan, who was somebody that had multiple personalities, which we call DID today, dissociative identity disorder. The show, I thought, ended fantastically. I was real impressed with it. Okay. Then my husband and I watched RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. I was very happy that Jimbo won. Jimbo I was rooting for. I either wanted Heidi N Closet or Jimbo to win, and Heidi N Closet took herself out of the competition, so then I, of course, wanted Jimbo to win. Then I watched this documentary called The Thin Blue Line. It was from, like, 1987 or something like that, or 1989. And it was about police corruption in Dallas County, Texas, where this guy had been accused of this murder that he didn't do. It was very sad. But kind of a dated, I'm like really into the true crime documentary. Like I love them, but I kind of go through phases where I can't watch too much of them because they're real dark and heavy, you know. Before that, I had watched on Max. Okay, The Thin Blue Line was on Amazon Prime. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars was on Paramount. Crowded Room was on Apple. Okay, before that I watched on Max, How to Create a Sex Scandal. Have y'all seen this documentary? I think it's 4 parts. 3 or 4 parts. It's about this woman that's a foster mother, and she has like 15 foster kids at one point, and she fosters these 3 young kids who are removed from their mother's home for substance abuse issues and neglect. And it comes out that their parents allegedly were involved in this like swingers club, and they had the kids perform there and stuff. You guys, okay, when you start this documentary and where it ends up and the lives that it has destroyed, you will be blown away. Blown away. It was one of the craziest documentaries I've ever seen. It's called How to Create a Sex Scandal. Okay, then I watched Burden of Proof, which I think is on Max as well. And Burden of Proof is about a brother that is trying to find out what happened to his sister, and she went missing. Her name was Jennifer something. I can't remember her last name. But she went missing in 1987. She would have been the exact same age as me, because she was 15 in 1987, and I would have been too. And it's like a 4-part series. And she disappeared one night and they don't know what happened to her. That's another series that where it starts and where it ends up are 2 completely different things. Like who you think did it at the beginning and who ends up doing it at the end. And that's the same thing with How to Create a Sex Scandal. I mean, like you have no idea the roller coaster you're on. That was a fantastic documentary as well. Then I watched The Myth of the Zodiac Killer. I think that was on Netflix, and it was boring, and it was stupid, and it was about this guy that had all these speculations about the Zodiac Killer, and I feel like he was just pulling them out of thin air. It didn't make any sense. Okay, then I watched a documentary, The Stroll, on Max, which is about the Stroll in New York City that existed like in the 70s and 80s. And it was like 14th and Christopher Street, and it was where all of the trans prostitutes prostituted, and now that whole area has been gentrified and is made into like, I think it was like a place where somebody in Sex and the City lived and stuff like that. It's like upscale stores and restaurants and apartments now. And so it was these women going back and sharing their stories of how they had prostituted and like friends of theirs that had been murdered and how dangerous it was. The director of it is actually is trans, and so it was like she shared her story of how like she got interested in like filmmaking and things like that. And it was really empowering because it showed a lot about like how many of these women had started as prostitutes and sex workers, and that they had like worked their way like out. That they didn't want to do that, but that was how they supported themselves. And it was interesting because they would say things like, this one woman said, you know, we're talking about like 1990. Like it wasn't like as a trans person we could go in and get a job at CVS. We, you know, took jobs wherever we could, and for us that was sex work. That was where if we wanted to pay our bills and feed ourselves, that's what we did. And I was like, oh wow, I mean, and you know, I came out in 1990, and I had several friends that were trans at that time, and I mean, we always kind of wondered what they did, you know, for money and things like that. And it's like, it's really insightful looking back on it that you really don't know somebody's experience, you know, until you walk around their shoes for a while. Interestingly enough, one of the women in it was also in Last Call, because one of the people that the serial killer killed in Last Call was a street hustler, and she was friends with him. She's now running this $1 million foundation for, it's a housing organization for trans people in New York City now, and she like raised all this money. It's like at the end of the Stroll. It's really interesting, but she's interviewed in Last Call as well. Then I watched The Idol. I think it was on Max as well. Alex and I started watching it together. I wasn't sure if I was going to finish watching it. I just thought it was so bad. It just was one of the weirdest shows I've ever seen in my entire life, in all honesty. I'm kind of surprised that some people signed on to it, like Dan Levy. I know that there's people out there that like it. Okay, it was so over-sexualized for no purpose. Like, it didn't make any sense to me why it was so over-sexualized as it was. And I think, like, what it was trying to do was kind of be, like, I love the show Euphoria. Did you guys hear about that Angus Cloud that passed away from Euphoria? Is that not so sad? I mean, it's so devastating, isn't it? I think it was trying to be like Euphoria, but like pop culture Euphoria kind of thing. And it really missed the mark. It was really trying to be edgy just to be edgy. But like it didn't really serve a purpose. I didn't think, like, everybody's talking about this main star and how fantastic she was. I didn't think she was that fantastic. I actually thought the girl that played her assistant was fantastic. It was a bizarre show to me. And in all honesty, it takes a lot for me to be uncomfortable watching something. That show made me uncomfortable. And when it was over, I was never so thankful that the show was over. Silo Season 1, oh my god, fantastic on Apple TV. Absolutely fantastic. I watched that on vacation in Mexico. It was so good. So Silo is about these people that live in these silos in the future, and they can't go outside, and they don't know why they can't go outside, and they don't know how long they've been living there. It is unbelievable. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. From Season 2, I can't remember how I watched it. I think on Hulu, maybe? If you've never seen From Season 1 or Season 2, it's by the producers and the writers of Lost. It is so good. And the main star that plays the sheriff in town, he was in Lost. It is one of my favorite shows of life. It is so good. And it's kind of scary, though. Like, my friend Tanya's like, she can't watch it when her husband's not home. And then I watched Invasion, and I watched that on vacation as well. And it's like a alien show about aliens coming here to the United States. Actually, it came out like years ago. I don't know how I just found out about it now. It's on Apple TV as well. Season 2 comes out later this month, and I'm really excited because it was fantastic. Take Care of Maya, that was on Netflix. It's a documentary about a girl that had a severe illness, and her parents were trying to treat her, and then they admitted her to the hospital, and the hospital called Child Protection Services or Family Services, and they basically took her away from her parents. It is one of the most devastating documentaries I've ever seen in my entire life, and let me just tell you the lengths that this mother goes to protect her child. It's shattering. I mean, it is absolutely shattering. When you ask yourself, what lengths would you go to protect a family member or a friend that you love? This mother is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable, the lengths that she would go to protect her daughter. It's a really powerful movie. The most powerful part to me, I mean, other than that, obviously, if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, but is at the very end, when they start interviewing people from all over the United States who have had very similar situations. I mean, there's literally hundreds of people that have had their kids taken away from them because they take their kids to the hospital, and because somebody does a 5-minute evaluation, they believe that the parents are abusive or neglectful, and they take the kids away. It's a really abused, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a really abused system of how they take these kids from their families. What's really sad about it is that there are obviously a lot of kids that are being abused or neglected, right? And so those kids are being, like, missed by the parents that are doing their job, and they're getting blamed for this, and it's just, it's unbelievable when you hear these stories. Okay, I watched High Desert on Apple TV with Patricia Arquette. I love her so much. Loved the whole season. Was not happy that it ended on a cliffhanger, but I will be watching next season. It's very humorous. It's trigger warning. It has a lot of drugs in it. So if you can't handle that, that's probably not the show for you. Okay, so many people recommended to me to watch Jury Duty. I think I watched it on Amazon Prime. Jury Duty is probably, like, if I had to pick my top 5 favorite shows of this year, and I don't know who recommended it to me, but thank you. Jury Duty would definitely be in my top 5. It's probably the show I recommend to people the most. So it's one season. I can't remember how many episodes it is, 6 or 10 or something. It's a reality show, and this guy, like, signs up to be part of a documentary that's going to follow a jury, and so he gets on this jury for this case, right? But what he doesn't know is that other than him, the court trial, the judge, the defendant, the prosecutor, all of the people involved in the trial, and everybody else in the jury are all actors, except for him. He has no clue. You guys, it is so crazy. It is so good. It was, like, one of my favorite shows. I don't know why this is always a scene I remember, but they have, like, one old lady on the jury, and she keeps on falling asleep. I think it kind of reminds me of my mom a little bit. And she keeps on falling asleep. At this one point, they take them out to dinner every night, obviously, because they're sequestered, right? And so at this one point, they're, like, asking him, like, real serious questions out in front of the restaurant. I mean, this is where it's so funny. Like, you could not script this stuff. And he has no clue that, and he's just, like, looking at her like, this is bizarre, right? And she said, and they say something to her, and then they ask her, like, well, what are you going to get? And she says, I'm going to be having the salmon unless we are allowed to have an appetizer, in which case I will be getting the onion rings. It was just like, I don't know why, but it, like, cracked me up so much. I love that show. It was so fantastic. And I looked it up, and I don't think there was going to be a season 2, because apparently it took so much involved in putting this in there, or putting it together, that they don't know if there was going to be a season 2. Grace and Frankie, I finally finished the series. The last season was out, and I watched it. I was so happy that Dolly Parton made a cameo. I won't tell you how. And I loved how Grace and Frankie ended. I thought it was fantastic. After investing all that time and energy into it, I was so happy how it ended. And then, based on a true story, oh, that was a true crime documentary. That was really good. Manifest on Netflix. Loved how the final season ended. The final season kind of reminded me, the final episode kind of reminded me a little bit of Lost. I was so invested in that show, and I know it's corny, and I know the dialogue is cheesy, and all that kind of stuff, but I fell in love with the characters so much that I was really, really into Manifest. Some Kind of Heaven. What's that? I don't even remember that show. You know it's a problem when you don't remember your shows. Hold on a second. I remember Some Kind of Wonderful from high school. Some Kind... Hold on a second. Why do I feel like Some Kind of Heaven? What is this? Oh... How could I forget? That's why I forgot. So I have a neighbor, and he's 89 years old, and he and his wife have a place in the Villages in Florida. And so he was telling my cousin, and now every time I see him, they're actually moved. I think they moved up there, moved there last week, but because he was like, we're going to the Villages at the end of July for a year. But every time that we were at the pool, or I was at the pool, he would tell me about the Villages and how he loves the Villages. So the Villages is the largest retirement community in the United States. I mean, there's 140,000 people that live there. So anyway, so my cousin Caroline told me there was a documentary about it. So I watched a documentary that was called Some Kind of Heaven. But have y'all heard about this? Okay, there's TikToks and YouTubes and everything about this place. People put, like, pineapples out on their front porch if they're swingers. Okay, and they put, like, loofahs on their golf carts, because they got golf carts. We got golf carts in our neighborhood too, but they put, like, loofahs on there. Like, if you're into, like, you know, if you put, like, a yellow or a brown one up there that tells you what you're into, you know, those kinds of things. And it's an old people's neighborhood. At one point, it had the highest rates of syphilis in our country. I mean, I'm laughing because it's just so unbelievable, right? Like, it's sad, right? So that was that documentary I watched. It was real sad. It followed 3 people. It didn't talk about any of that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for that, look for the YouTube channels. It didn't talk about any of the promiscuity of the... It talked about 3 people. One woman had ran out of all of her money because her husband died right after they moved there, and she wanted to move home to Maine or Massachusetts or somewhere. And then one other guy, he became a complete drug addict when he moved down there, hippie. And he was in court all the time, and his wife was ready to leave him. And then they kind of did give me swingers a little bit. Not that you can, like... I know there's some people out there that are like, well, we're swingers. You can... I'm just saying, okay? They were kind of, you know, free love and all that. But anyway... It was a real sadly documentary. It made me real sad. Okay, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, which actually took place here in Westville, Indiana, that was unbelievable. And apparently, her side of the story, so it was all told from, like, the dad's side of the story, who was absolutely nuts, crazy, okay? Like, I mean, he has lost it completely, and I don't care. Like, that's my opinion, okay? And since he wanted to put himself in a documentary and scream at the camera half the time, I can say that. He lost his mind. And I don't even know what to believe. Like, that, I mean, I walked away from that show. I'm like, do you believe her? Do you believe them? Like, the neighbor said some things. The other people, I mean, You didn't know what to believe. But apparently Natalia Grace, if you don't know what it's about Natalia Grace is a little person that she like was adopted by this family, and they found out like that she was much older than she was, and all this kind of stuff, and then but then they found out she wasn't that age, so you don't really know what age she is, except for they find her mother in Russia. And so I don't know, the whole thing, I don't even want to tell you guys about it. You got to watch it yourself. It is unbelievable. But apparently at the end of this month, the same documentary team is doing a follow-up documentary with her, from her point of view, so that'll be interesting. Saint X I watched, I don't remember what that was on, Hulu I think, and it was based on the book that I read several years ago. I loved it. I thought it was so much better than the book. The book was Bornsville. The show was so fantastic. It was actually with the girl that's the main star in Fear the Walking Dead, the young girl that plays his sister. I thought it was great. Bama Rush was on, I think, Max. It was stupid. It was so dumb. So I got real into those TikToks years ago of outfit of the day and all that kind of stuff, and the girls that were rushing at Alabama, University of Alabama. Okay, it's called Bama Rush. It was hashtag Bama Rush. Did you guys anybody go watch it? Watch those. So that's what I thought it was going to be about. They follow like 3 or 4 girls. Well, I think it was like 5 or 6 maybe. Well, all of them but one ends up not rushing, and then, or all of them but 2 end up not rushing, and then one of them, she doesn't want to do it because she's worked so hard, and they find out that, like, if you're talking to this documentary team, then you're not going to get your bid, and so she drops out, and it's just one girl. It's so stupid, you guys. And then the director makes it all about her story, and I mean, it's kind of sad. Like, the director has alopecia, and she's lost her hair, but she compares loosely, like, her wearing wigs growing up to being in a sorority. I don't know. It was not what I thought it would be. I thought it would be, like, all about these girls that were, you know, like, doing all that kind of stuff. My mom was a Pi Phi. My aunt was a Pi Phi. All my mom's friends were Pi Phi. Pi Phi, Pi Phi, Pi Beta Phi. I'll be a Pi Phi all my life until the day I die. I wouldn't be a Kappa, did G or Alpha Chi, me a Pi Phi, Pi Phi. Pi Phi misses, Pi Phi kisses, sweetest of them all. So anyway, I grew up, okay, with the legacy of Pi Phis, and so, I think my mom and my aunt's most devastating moments was when I did not go to a fraternity as a pledge of fraternity, and my cousin didn't rush Pi Phi, and she wasn't in a sorority. I think that was our most devastating moments to my mother and my aunt. But anyway, my most devastating moment was watching Bama Rush, which was one of the worst documentaries I've ever seen. Love and Death, which was about the Candy Montgomery story where she killed her best friend. Okay, so I actually watched Candy with Jessica Biel last year. Did I finish it this year or did I watch it last year? I watched it last year, and I really liked it, okay? Love and Death is on HBO Max, or Max, I keep on calling it HBO Max, and it's a different telling of it. I actually think Love and Death is 100 times better, and not because the Elizabeth Olsen is better than Jessica Biel. They're 2 different versions of it. Actually, I kind of like Jessica Biel's version of Candy Montgomery better. I thought it was more realistic. But Love and Death gets more into the details of the story, so it was good. Yellow Jackets Season 2. Loved it. If you haven't started watching Yellow Jackets yet, I don't know what is wrong with you. It's one of the most fantastic shows out there. I don't know how they literally kill a main character in the last episode. Like, a main character. I was like, what is going on? And they already have started filming Season 3, so. The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, Season 1. Okay, I read that book about the Skinwalker Ranch. That show is so dumb, okay? And after I said this in a video, people got so mad. And they, oh, my family, my friends, they live out there by that Skin Ranch and Skinwalker Ranch, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And they didn't show it in the show. That show is boring, okay? They didn't show nothing in that show. I don't believe nothing happens on that ranch. I don't believe nothing about that Skinwalker Ranch, okay? Prove it. Show me some aliens. Okay, show me an alien walking right through the road. That's what I want to see. Okay, I'm so tired of these alien shows wanting to act like, I mean, I believe in aliens all day long, trust, I do, okay? I believe they've been here for a long time. Don't be talking to me about all this work you're going to do on this ranch, okay? Exposing aliens and stuff. You don't show nothing but some light in the sky that could be a helicopter. I ain't buying it. That show is stupid. Village of the Damned was a true crime documentary. I think I watched it on Amazon. It was about New York. It was good. It was about this town where all this, like, really sad stuff happened. The Last Thing He Told Me was on Apple TV. It was a book turned into a TV show by Laura Dave. I loved the book, but the TV show was so much better. I mean, they were both good. If you're going to watch it, read the book first, because the book is really worth it. But the TV show was so close to the book. I thought it was fantastic. I don't really know where to stop. Good Night, Sugar Babe. Somebody told me to watch that documentary. You can watch it for YouTube for free. Okay, don't buy it for $9.99 on Amazon like I had to do, because I didn't even think to look on YouTube. It's called Good Night, Sugar Babe. Okay? Y'all, it is so bad to say this because it is such a tragically sad story, but I got laughing so hard telling my friend Mel about this, because these characters in this true crime document, I mean, you cannot make this stuff up, and they are real people, okay? It's a woman's name is Sugar Babe. She's the one that's behind all of it, although she don't get accused of nothing. And it's these people that take in this woman that has all these disabilities, and they murder her. It's horrible, you guys, okay? But, like, just to listen to these people tell their stories, I mean, it is unbelievable. It's called Good Night, Sugar Babe. You can watch it on YouTube for free, okay? Trust me, it is an experience. That's all I'll say. Okay. And then I watched the Anna Nicole Smith documentary on Netflix. I actually thought it was really good. I loved Anna Nicole Smith. I loved her show. Anna Nicole. Thought it was really good. And there was a lot that I didn't know that I learned. Like, she made up her whole childhood, apparently, as her mom says. I didn't know all about that. The Imposter I watched. I'd seen it before. And I'm getting it way back into things like Queen Charlotte. Loved Queen Charlotte. Three Identical Strangers, which was a documentary about these three triplets that were split. Have you guys seen this documentary? This documentary is good, okay? It's about three triplets that were separated at birth, but it goes into how, like, they were buying babies and all this kind of stuff, and then they were following around for this experiment. You guys, it is so bizarre. Missing, Dead or Alive on Netflix. That was fantastic. Rich Hill was a documentary about these three kids that lived in poverty in this place called Rich Hill, I think, Ohio. That was really good, but very, very sad. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, like, the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, if you guys ever watched that show. Queen Charlotte. Loved. Okay, I am a Bridgerton super fan. I didn't think I ever would be, but my husband was watching one episode of season 2, and I thought, I gotta go back and start watching this thing, and I watched it all, season 1 and season 2. When Queen Charlotte came out, Queen Charlotte is better than Bridgerton. I mean, it's a spinoff of Bridgerton about Queen Charlotte. The woman they cast to play Queen Charlotte younger and the woman that plays her older, they are both so fantastic. They both look so much alike. I mean, it was impeccable. The music, I bought the whole soundtrack. It was so good. Oh, the scene when they play I Will Always Love You, and they show the guy, and he's dancing by himself. I literally bawled my eyes out. Below Deck, Mediterranean season 1 through 4. I Love You, Now Die. Did you guys watch that documentary about the girl? I'm, like, overwhelming people. They're like, oh my god, all these TV shows. It's about the girl that was texting her boyfriend, and then he took his life. Y'all, that documentary was so sad, okay, and so bizarre, and I didn't even know what to think about it. Ultimate Girls Trip Thailand, loved it. And then I'm getting way back into things I watched last spring, which I think I've already talked about, so I'm going to get off here now. And let me know what shows you're watching. Let me know what shows you would recommend. I could really use some true crime documentaries that you would recommend. Listen, if they're like The Keepers or what's the making of a murderer and all those, The Staircase, I've seen all of those, okay? I need a Lady in the Dale. What are some of the other ones? I mean, I've seen, like, every major documentary that's been out there. The one I haven't seen, if anybody's seen it, let me know. If I wanted to see, it's been on my list, is The Missing Children of Atlanta. Have you guys heard about that one? It's supposed to be fantastic. And I also want to know if How to Become a Cult Leader is good. Those are the two that are, like, on my list to watch next. But I'm also watching Murder in the Heartland, and I love that. So, anyway, if you guys have any true crime documentary recommendations or any recommendations for TV shows in general, let me know. When I finish Fear the Walking Dead, Ozark's my next big show to start watching. So anyway, because my husband loved it so much. Ozark and Yellowstone. Yellowstone I'm saving for the fall. So anyway, I love you guys so much. Let me know what you're watching in the comment section below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.